Looks like I'm about to run the whole show.
You're up, Hardaway.
Wait. No. It's me. No, my bad. I'm the unknown factor. This is a really dope comic book. That's neither here nor there. And ladies and gentlemen, this is the questionnaire. Yeah. I'm not even sure what episode we're at still. I think it's like 26-ish, 27, right? Right, something like that. So I got JD Hardaway in the house.
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing this evening?
Man, firstly, all I want to say is it's a pleasure. Everyone we've had on, man, and it just keeps going, and I'm loving it. So we just got to get right to it because she's already trying to get you to take over the damn show. We got Erica Schultz in the house.
I'm not trying to get anybody to take over anything. I'm simply making observations of how I see what's going on. I like there's like a quasi hierarchy going on, and there's obviously some loggerheads. So I'll be Eris. I'll throw the apple of discord and then watch back and then watch the chaos.
Yes.
Dude, she called us out on our hip hop egos. That's exactly what she just did.
Oh, dude, we butt heads all the time. We're Rams. It's good. It's a beautiful thing. It's how we get the blood pumping. How we get the brain cells flowing.
Real quick, I gotta know: have you never bought French bread pizza at like the store, like Banquet or anything?
Yeah, I usually get the Stouffer's used to make frozen French bread pizzas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. You're telling me you've got one and there was a top?
You asked this weird ass question every time.
Okay, so this is from the questionnaire that you sent me like 4 months ago.
Oh man, I guess you know what? You are one individual, and oh my god, when you filled out the questionnaire as opposed to when you actually came on the show, holy hell, there was some time, wasn't there? Typically it's like a week or two, like because I'd like to think
See,
it's
what
not.
I do is I make my own French bread pizza where I'll get like the big like loaf and slice it in half, and then that's what I do. I make my own, because the other thing is that, like, I don't know if you've ever looked at the ingredients of that stuff. This stuff's got a lot of salt in it, like a lot of salt.
Can I
the
say,
sodium is like really high. So
Erica, so do I.
Yes.
So do I.
You have a lot of salt in you?
No.
Salty ass motherfucker.
I mean, I am kind of salty, but look at the co-hosts I have to deal with. But that's neither here nor there, right? But no, I mean, as far as like, I will make a French bread. Like, I'll get a big old, piece of French bread and then just slice it and make my own, because I do think it is way, 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 way better. But we're gonna get into all kinds of things, Man, I looked through so much of your work today, Erica, and it's so crazy.
And it took you only 15 minutes.
Oh, I mean, no, actually, look, today at work was totally dead, and I had absolutely nothing to do, so I really actually took my time and absorbed some things. It's terrible, though. I'm as bad at names as I am at with people as I am with books in certain conditions, because there's something that you very first started with I can't remember the damn name of, and it's driving me slightly insane. And it's because I'm so focused, in all honesty, in my brain at the current things that you're on, because I'm very, very intrigued by all three of them, right? But before we get into any of that, Hardaway, here's a bust, bro.
Buzz Coon, why would you do this to me? Oh, yeah, question. That's right. Look. Here's the question of them, all the questions. We got a bunch of questions, but this is the question of all the questions. And if I ask the one that I really want to ask, he'll get mad at me. So
ask the one you really want to ask.
That.
Ask the one you really want to ask.
If you had a theme song, if you had someone to make your theme song for your life, who would it be and what would it sound like?
My whole life?
Like
or just my career?
No. Your whole life, like your existence, like you doing your thing, living your life. That's part of your career. How it shifts because you got to pick the perfect composer, writer, whatever. You know what I'm saying? That can encompass you.
Is this the question that you wanted to ask me, or is this the question that he
No,
wants
this is
to ask
legit
me?
the real. No. The question he wants me to ask you.
Okay.
How you stayed in the why
Hey, so why you
you
gotta don't
did
answer it? Hey, just let her answer the question you asked. You ain't gotta tell her
Okay,
what the other
so
question is.
there's a
Shift the.
song by a group called Fort Minor
Oh,
called "Remember the Name."
yep.
So if I had to pick a song that was already done, I would say that would be like my come out of the locker room song, because it's got
Okay.
that like opening beat that's like, and it's just like, I mean, it's just it's a good song to be like, this motherfucker's here. Okay. But if I had to choose someone to compose something,
That's what I'm
I
going.
don't know if I would want to go something like something a little more. Who was the guy who composed the music for the first Iron Man movie? He also used to do the musical composition for the TV show Person of Interest.
Now you
Him.
done goofed up Jay and got stumped on a musician that you do not know. See, that's some bull. And
Wait. First off, we'll have
Wait, do
that
you know
name.
Fort Minor?
We'll have
I,
that joke.
I
We'll
know
have that
Fort
name
Minor.
in just
Like,
a
oh my
moment.
God.
Look, man, I'm just saying, okay? I'm just saying.
Like I would be very sad for people who didn't know who Fort Minor was because, like, yeah.
All right, no. Are you Google that information, Hardaway?
I am
All
already,
right,
dude. I've
well,
been on
So
that.
let me see.
the musician, the
Just
composer for the
there
first
were
Iron Man movie, 2008. He also he wasn't the composer for the rest of the series.
well
He was
here.
only the composer for the first Iron Man movie, and he was the composer on the TV show Person of Interest. I would want him to be the musical composer of my soundtrack of my life.
Oh my God! I'm gonna look. There were two. Hans Zimmer was one. I'm really aware of that
No, it
name.
wasn't Hans Zimmer. It
Okay, well,
wasn't Hans Zimmer.
then the other producer that because he
There's some
did Iron Man and
issues.
the Incredible Hulk. Man, I'm gonna butcher this guy's name, Erica.
Yeah, that's the thing is I don't know how to pronounce his name, and I don't want to disrespect him
I'm
because
gonna
I
look.
absolutely love and respect his work.
All right, and so do I because he did. I actually even recently watched the Incredible Hulk again, and yeah, I mean it's brilliant somatically, I mean, just the composure in it somatically is awesome. Um, I'm gonna. Oh man, I don't even want to try. I'm terrible with names.
Do you want can you put it as like a Chiron?
Here you go.
I swear, look, his name's gonna flash right below, right on this episode, right now, at that particular moment, because none of us want to butcher it. And much respect to the work you do, right?
Yeah, I don't want
So,
to mispronounce it and
yeah,
disrespect because
I
I
totally understand.
I enjoy the work.
Look, I've had Erica before we got started on the show. I didn't ask you how to pronounce your name because it is Schultz, correct?
Schultz,
Okay,
yes.
see, because and I can't tell you how many past guests Hey man, can I ask how exactly
Oh,
you know what I mean? Because I ain't
you
trying to
talk
disrespect nobody like that. Hey, shut up, Hardaway. We ain't getting into it no more than that, right? But on the terms of what I said a moment ago, I'm curious, Erica, with everything you've done leading up to what you are currently doing, which we're gonna get to in just a moment, all three current projects that you have coming up. I want to know at this point, what keeps you driven to go in the industry?
that's what he wanted me to ask you.
Yeah, he's right, but your question was awesome, bro. I ain't got no problem. Ain't mad at you, whatever. Jesus,
Piss and vinegar?
too serious. That's your answer? Piss and vinegar is what keeps you going?
Piss and vinegar. Yeah. Those are the two things I run on, piss and vinegar.
That's great.
That is
That's
the
absolutely.
I'm being honest. I mean,
That's
look,
what you're
that's
supposed to do in life is be honest. Look, that's
because
me. It's a flavor of life.
that's
because
the best
I,
answer. That's
when the first trade paperback of M3, which was the first book that I that I came out with. When the first trade came out, I put a dedication in it. This is dedicated to all the people who told me I couldn't, and all the people that believed that I could. Because the people that believed in me are just as important as the people that don't. And I know there's a lot of things where people say, "Oh, fuck the hater." I can curse, right?
Yeah. You good?
Just make sure.
Look,
How people
Erica,
are like,
I'm one of the guys
"Fuck the haters" and blah blah blah, whatever. I'm like, yeah, that's true. Fuck the haters, but at the same time, their negative energy still gives you energy to keep to propel. Still gives you inertia.
I agree.
And so, and that's where I run on piss and vinegar.
You're the only.
I agree wholeheartedly.
Yo,
Love thy hater.
Hardaway,
All right,
she's got the closest to a hip hop attitude of anybody we've interviewed, I think.
I told you. Look, man. Look.
I'm loving it, Eric. I'm just saying, but that was one of the best answers I think we've gotten for that question period. Keep tuning in. Piss and vinegar. Can I say real quick?
You got something, a lot of the answers are realistic. They're like, man, we need money. And I'm like, look, I ain't even mad at you. I feel you pay the bills, feed the family, feed the belly, and whatnot. But just to sit there and be like, you know what? You cool, but you?
No,
that's great.
Can I say, oh, Erica, you just made me want to read the X-23 book you've got coming up even more. Like really.
Well, it doesn't come out until March, so you're going to have to wait a little bit.
Yeah, see? Look at you.
Why you got to be so rude, Erica? And
sorry.
Can I say too? That's even worse for me.
You can read the Deadliest Bouquet or the Deadliest Banquet, however you want to call it.
Yeah, well, see, I want the graphic. Whatever. I'm gonna read the Deadliest Bouquet first.
I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you the truth. So the graphic novel actually came out. So before the book came out from Image, we did a Kickstarter on I believe it was 2021. It was like May to June 2021, and we put it out as a graphic novel, and it has a Kevin Wada cover. And
how thick is that?
Oh, this is multiple.
Okay.
Together.
Okay.
No, this isn't one.
I was like, damn,
this isn't one book. No, this is not one book.
Hey, Erica, I really want one of those.
Well, unfortunately, I cannot sell them to you until after the Image graphic novel, the Image trade paperback comes out.
That's what I figured.
Yes. On a lark, I said, you know what? Just for giggles, let me send it out to pitch it to Image. Because originally, so this book originally had a publisher. And then COVID happened, and the publisher obviously had to tighten belts because that happened with a lot of people. I'm by no means the only person who had that situation occur. I know plenty of people that said, I had a publisher for this, and it fell through because of COVID. So my fantastic editor, James Emmett, said, you know what, let's do this on Kickstarter because I think that you have a big enough following and we can actually do this. So I said, all right, fine. We did it on Kickstarter. We made our ask plus, so we got a little gravy on top. And then I said, you know what, the book's almost done. Why don't I just turn around and just off the top of my head, why don't I say screw it and pitch to Image? So I sent it to Image, and they came, and their pitch is usually like 5 to 8 pages of art. Mind you, I already had, like almost 100 pages of art already completed. And so I said, hey, blah, 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 here's my pitch. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And they said, this looks good. Do you have any more? And I'm like, yeah, I've got, 98% of the book is actually done. So I sent them everything, and they came back, a couple of days later and said, we really like this. We want to do this. So because the book was originally going to be 5 issues coming out through this first publisher, it was already paced for 5 issues. It was already chapter breaks for 5 issues. So Image said, do you want to do it as a graphic novel like you did it, or do you want to do it as monthlies? And I said, let's do it as monthlies. It's a different format. And, this way people, if they like the first issue and they want to wait for the trade, or they don't like the first issue, they don't have to, pick up the rest. It's up to them. So
That's fair.
I
Dig it.
I really dig that, and I was digging through your website. Like I said, I dug through your website quite a bit earlier today, and I thought I'd read that. Like, wait, am I reading that this has come out, but I'm not going to be able to get it because she signed a deal with Image, and even though I really did think for a second it was that damn thick because I honestly wasn't sure how many issues you'd planned of it and how much was written. For a moment, I was
originally it was going to be 15 issues.
Okay. For a moment,
so there
I
were
was
three
like,
story arcs.
eh. Okay. For a moment, I was like,
we talk about 3 generations. So I was going to do a story arc for each generation. So there was the story arc that takes place in World War II. There's a story arc that takes place between the 50s and the 60s. And then there's the story arc here, which is the 70s, 80s, 90s. So that was the original plan, was those 15 issues. And it would literally just follow this family from these 3 generations. But when we went to do the Kickstarter, we were like, okay, well, if we can only get one story arc out, what is that one story arc going to be? So we picked the 70, 80, 90s, and we did that. And then there are flashbacks throughout it that touch on the World War II story arc and touch on the 50s, 60s.
What specifically made you decide on that era to focus on?
Because I think that, well, first of all, that part of the story was the most fleshed out to begin with. The World War II one was the second most fleshed out, and then the one from the 50s and the 60s wasn't as fleshed out. So I had already had this, because the core part of this story is the relationship between these 3 sisters. Yes, the relationship between their mom, but the core part of the story is these 3 sisters. And I had that really fleshed out. And then the World War II one, because it was so rooted in the war and everything, a lot of that world was already built. I did my research in the war and, in the French, and the French resistance and everything. So a lot of that was already built, and it was simply a matter of taking my characters and just plugging them into that environment already. Yes.
I would like to interject and be like, that is really cool that you use the French side of the revolution on World War II, because they don't get a lot of credit in wars on the shit that they've accomplished in helping out the Allies and whatnot. They don't get a lot of credit for it. So I think that's pretty fucking cool. All right. That's all I want to say.
Well, when the Nazis came into Paris, I think it was June 1941, there were a lot of little sort of like pockets of resistance, almost like, people just being like, fuck you kind of thing. But there was no real organization. And it wasn't until like September 1941 that they actually came together and started strategizing together versus, there being this like, a gang here that just wants to, fuck the police kind of thing and everything. And the way
that tactic that the French used, though, that was the part about them. They kept that same tactic, but it was more like one person from each one had information to connect to the next one. So if when one group was caught, you could not get the whole because you just got a pocket. That's a French thing they've been doing for like ever, and that's why I'm like, all the times that you see the Marines in the movies do all that, you got a pocket here fighting and then over here fighting one. They got that from the French. They didn't get that from like, oh, we got that from like in Civil War and whatnot. Well, kinda, because the French did it there too. So it's like that was the point. But no, I just thought that was pretty cool that you brought the French, use the French side of it, because most people go the German side or they go the American side or they got the British
side.
And whatnot. You never really see the French.
That's dope, and I love to just listen to you as far as how you created this. It sounds like it was very much a labor of love, which I love. A love story, but really, cheese. Like, can I say some of your earliest work has some of the most interesting titles that I think I have ever seen, as far as cheese, a love story, The unauthorized
biography of Winston
Churchill.
a documentary.
Those are the two that I couldn't honestly keep in my brain to remember the name of, Erica, and it's because, especially now that you've answered, Piss and Vinegar is what keeps you going. And then the two books you've got coming up from Marvel, from Hallow's Eve and X-23, I'm very, very, very curious to see what you do with those. Now, just to flip back to that, as far as what we were saying earlier, I'm curious. With X-23, I know you're doing more of her when earlier on. As far as
we're not in the Krakoa era, we are in the Utopia era, and there was a moment where Laura sort of went on, I guess for lack of a better term, she kind of went on a sabbatical, the sort of idea of trying to find herself, and a lot of it was Logan's influence by saying, because it's taken Logan literally centuries to sort of make peace with who and what he is, and Laura hadn't had that ability, hadn't had that time, and never really had the perspective that Logan had, to sort of stop and take a moment and not just forgive other people for the crazy, insanity that they brought upon her, but also for her to forgive herself for some of the terrible things that she did. So what we do is every time I'm writing a book, I try and let there be like one sentence that sort of, carries through. So for X-23, what I wrote to my editor, I said, one of the things that happens a lot, and especially with women, and this is something that Dr. Eve Ewing had said on the Women of Marvel panel in New York, is this idea of women tend to take things on. And we have this notion in our heads that nobody can do it but me. Nobody can get it done but me. Fine, I will do it myself. And that's something that is inherently sort of baked into all of our DNA. And one of the things that Dr. Ewing had mentioned was, for women of color, that is a very specific thing. Like, women of color are always taking the responsibilities of not only children, but nieces, nephews, husbands, wives, just family in general, taking all the responsibility onto themselves because they think that nobody else can do it but me. Whereas Laura is not a woman of color, that idea of, I must do what others cannot. So that was the sentence that drove through those 5 issues for X-23. And that sentence, even though the sentence remains the same, the meaning of it to the character changes. So in issue 1, Laura's thought of, I must do what others cannot, means one thing, and then it changes from each issue. And you see how she grows as a character and how that sentence changes meaning with her.
I'm annoyed at the amount of time I'm going to have to wait to be able to get that in graphic novel format. And that's rightly all I can say about it. But I'm going to have to annoy my co-hosts right now, even though it's not my intent. But I found out earlier before you popped in, it apparently annoys the crap out of them. So you don't like Damian Wayne.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to pop in early. It was simply because I was trying to get all the techie stuff fixed.
You're fine, Erica. I don't care. Hell, you could have stayed and we would have chopped it up, and Lord knows what would have happened as far as the conversation going sideways, because that's kind of what we do here. But so you got a distaste for Damian Wayne.
I do have a distaste for Damian Wayne. Because I think Damian Wayne is the most annoying little shit on the planet.
All right, look, I can agree with that though.
Oh my God.
And I will say this. Carrie Kelly, Stephanie Brown, whatever. Damian Wayne is the worst Robin on the planet. Like, he's the worst Robin from Earth 1 to Earth 52. He's the worst, the absolute worst, and I hate him. I hate him
either. I personally love Damian Wayne as a character and whatnot, because it shows what Bruce could have turned into if he would have stayed with the League of
Yeah,
Assassins.
but that's Jason.
Jason Todd's absolutely fucking insane. All right.
Oh yeah,
Batman,
but Jason,
look.
Jason is the worst thing. Jason is the worst thing that Bruce could turn into.
I agree.
There's
real quick, Erica, I just have to ask because it drives him crazy. I found out when I asked this, so now I'm going to ask everyone if we ever get on Batman. Do you think Batman's sane?
no.
All right.
I
You
don't.
think he's
I
psychotic?
don't think that. I don't think that you. I think that if you dress up in a costume and go out at night or at day or whatever, and you personally take on the role of judge, jury, and pretty damn close to executioner, because Batman may not kill, but he certainly gives people this debilitating injuries.
Give you a hell of a hospital bill.
If you do that, there is something very wrong with you, whether it's all the concussions that he's had. And I mean, I would love to write the story of Bruce Wayne and his CTE. You know, like that's one thing they never did in Batman Beyond. Okay. They never did this in Batman Beyond when Bruce Wayne was the old man. I would have really liked to have seen Bruce start going nuts like Junior Seau and start doing crazy shit because of all the concussions that he has suffered and all the injuries he's suffered over the years. I want to see peak CTE from Bruce Wayne.
Don't forget though, Bruce Wayne has multiple times used the Lazarus Pit, and he has multiple healers on his team that he can hit up with. Zatanna can easily knock out some of the problems with a couple of reversed words, and whatnot. So it's like, and he has a
I know her screaming Lee a million times for him to heal. I played that PS2 game too.
I actually know that's funny because I actually the only Batman games that I've ever played were like the old school ones on the regular Nintendo and the Arkham ones, because I thought those were pretty cool. You can like move around and stuff like that. But other than that,
there was a PS2 Justice League game that was pretty good, and Zatanna was one of, and she would always be. You'd always have her on your team because she'd be able to heal your team, and she would just keep screaming Lee to make you, because everything's backwards. So I guess that's heal backwards.
Yeah. Hey. But that's the thing. That's the thing. That's like that could potentially happen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not saying the idea behind him having a bunch of concussions and whatnot, but I can just see the producers, executives, or whatever just going, well, he has these people that can just easily heal these problems.
Yeah.
But the thing is like the one thing that I do like is the idea of in some of the movies is they show that his paranoia still gets the better of him and whatnot. Like, he'll see his shadow and it'll resemble something and they'll freak him the fuck out. That would be funny and whatnot. But no, the idea behind Batman being insane, no, everybody in DC's insane. Just like everybody in Marvel is absolutely insane.
All right. Fair point. Right. Let's flip this though, because that's just frankly what I do. I'm curious, and I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I took a pretty good look as far as everything you've written. And your favorite genre of film is sci-fi and adventure, right? And I'm pretty sure looking.
I like writing pretty much anything, but I grew up in a household. I mean, my dad used to read loads of like Philip K. Dick and Asimov and everything, and my mom used to love the original Star Trek and was an artist on some of the old school fanzines in the 70s and 80s. So I mean, I grew up in a sci-fi household, but I pretty much love any genre.
Okay, well, my specific question in regards to that though is, like, you've never written anything from the big two that's really what I would consider a sci-fi character, correct?
I wrote Hawk Girl in 2016.
I would consider. I guess you could consider those. I would consider those more adventure characters. I wouldn't consider those sci-fi characters.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I mean more like the likes of Lobo, the Guardians of the Galaxy. I'm trying
No,
to
I
think
didn't do any.
right.
What
Well,
Marvel
that's
would
fine. That's
consider them
fine.
the
No.
cosmic characters.
I
No,
know.
I've never done
No.
any of that.
I don't. That's fine. That's fine. I understand. I'm curious if you could pick one of those real
Martian Manhunter
sci-fi.
and Beta Ray Bill.
Damn.
Yes. Woo! I'm sorry. Look, for one, Betty Ray Bill is the shit. Martian Manhunter's fun and whatnot. I would like to see all sorts of shit, but Beta Ray Bill, that was one of the greatest entries ever.
Man,
Why though?
that's funny
Why
because
Martian Manhunter and Beta Ray Bill?
Well, Beta Ray Bill is the cosmic Captain America. He is the best of his people, who was experimented on and turned into a protector, a weapon, and considered the paragon of what his people could be. So he is the cosmic Captain America in my mind.
Hey, no, that's a perfect description of Beta Ray Bill. I like it.
Because if you think about it, literally, he was this small, meek little person who is voted by his people to be, who's like basically the pure of heart. I mean, that's the whole thing with Captain America. The reason why the super soldier serum didn't make him go insane was because he was pure of heart, for lack of a better term. And it's the same thing with Bill. In terms of why Martian Manhunter is because I think that having the ability to be anybody but not know who you yourself are is interesting. He can be anybody. He can mimic anyone. But who is John Jones? And then, when they brought in Malifaux and the whole White Martian thing and everything, and they brought that into the lore, it was interesting because he was no longer the last one or the only Martian left. But even still, so he knows who he is in reference to Malifaux. Does he know who he is in reference to the larger universe as a whole? Because he can be anybody. He can take on the personality like a Skrull. He can be anybody, but who is he? Does that make sense?
Oh
No,
that totally
it
makes sense.
definitely does. I'm just curious when it comes to Martian Manhunter is when they're going to touch on the fact that that whole little fire thing is like a psychological thing more so than anything. But why? Look, I love for one, Martian Manhunter is one of my favorite characters in DC. Just because he could, like you said, he could be anybody. He could do damn near anything. And he's like the head of Stormwatch. Like, come on now.
Can I say to you though, as far as in regards to your answers,
I know hold on, I'm not done. And then Beta Ray Bill is my favorite just because the first time you run into Beta Ray Bill is like one of my favorites because Ant-Man's still my favorite. Period. All right, but Beta Ray Bill being able to pick up Mjolnir and smack the crap out of Thor had me rolling on. I was like,
he had mercy.
He's worthy.
but this is the other thing: is Beta Ray Bill had mercy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And can I say, in regards to what you said, Erica, it really makes me want to see specifically you write a Beta Ray Bill Captain America team up, like a little arc.
Man,
that'd be awesome.
I do want to see that image.
Yeah. Because I very just recently read the most recent Beta Ray Bill that they put out, where they do go into the fact of like his whole backstory, and he's trying to get
the Daniel Warren Johnson stuff.
Yeah, Daniel. Which is lovely. It was lovely, Daniel. I'd love to have you on honestly to discuss it, because Dave was trying to get me by a Thunder Falcon, and then he said it got all sad, and I was like,
Murder Falcon.
Murder
Falcon.
Yeah, and Murder Falcon, sorry. He said he was trying to get me to buy that, and he said, man, he gets all sad. And I was like, fuck you, dude. I don't want that right now in my life. You find me something by him that's more up. He's like, oh, well, then get the Beta Ray Bill. I was like, all right. So, and it was wonderful as far as in just breaking down how much he's similar to Captain America. Curious, like, let's say somebody hands you that and you can do it. What do you think you'd do with it, Erica? Can I ask for a pitch?
Well, Beta Ray or Beta Ray plus Cap?
Oh yeah, Beta Ray and Cap, because I think that's way more
Beta
interesting.
Ray and Cap. Okay, well, Beta Ray is of a certain age. I mean, he's not, he doesn't age like humans. So I'm wondering if we can bring Beta Ray in earlier and have, like, maybe even World War II time, have Cap sort of hunting down Nazis and who have found a way to sort of open a portal to space. And Cap finds his way sort of chasing after them. And in doing so, runs into Beta Ray, and Beta Ray obviously recognizes, Cap's loyalty, goodness, all this other stuff, and helps. And Beta Ray will, and obviously Scuttlebutt, help Cap track down, because the Nazis, the bad guys, whomever, because obviously these are not good for Earth, but they're also not good for the rest of the universe. That kind of thing. And then,
did they ever say how many missions? I'm sorry, but did they ever say how many missions Captain America has done in World War II? Ever?
No, I don't think there's a specific time. But see, this is the other thing, though, is because, like, if you go back, so the 1941 Captain America, the Joe Simon, Jack Kirby stuff, is, there were a bunch of things that were rewritten when they brought Cap back in the 60s, because there are flashback episodes in that Stan Lee wrote, along with Jack Kirby, obviously, that talk about missions that were never spoken about in the first run. So for all you know, this stuff happened, and it just hasn't been chronicled yet. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So I mean, so there really is a lot of leeway in terms of continuity.
Oh yeah, because you got to think about it. Almost all of the Holly Commandos happened during World War II.
Yes.
Like Captain America knows absolutely every member of the Holly Commandos, and so it's like, man, come on now. And they ran missions during World War II, so it's like that would be really cool though, because like you can have a issue where they run into the Holly Commandos. You know what I'm saying? Like they got to do a mission with them. I mean,
how do we know that? How do we know that the mission that Cap is doing to get the Nazis is with the Helen Commandos, and yet Cap is the one that's sort of sucked into this wormhole?
Even better.
And then you cut to Scuttlebutt being like, hey boss, there's this huge anomaly, this energy anomaly that happens out of nowhere, and there's this wormhole that opens up, and what do you see flying out? The first thing that you see is this weird, like, red, white, and blue kind of blurry image coming out, and then out of nowhere, your last splash page is Cap floating in space, and Beta Ray's like, holy crap, wormhole just opened up and this random humanoid just came out. And then Scuttlebutt's arm comes out, grabs Cap, pulls him in. Beta Ray can revive him because, he's got alien technology. And there you go. That's opening of issue 2.
I hope someone just listened to that whole pitch because it sounds phenomenal. But I'm curious in regards, I say that shit way too much. I've been editing some things, and I say I'm curious far too much. But that's just besides the point. I've caught myself doing that, right? Curious. I need to. I'm very curious.
He's not allowed to be curious, but he's got to be saying other words like "I'm intrigued" or I can't even think of anything else at the moment in time.
Perhaps I am, man. Don't get perplexed because of my.
Get him a thesaurus for Christmas or for the holidays. Get him a thesaurus.
He should have one. He's MC.
All right. Well, to the end of what I was curious about. All right.
Curious, sir, and curious, sir.
Look, whatever.
It's better than a superstitious and cowardly lie.
That's true.
Yeah, I'm certainly not superstitious, and like whatever. I love black cats, right? But that's besides the point. Again, man. You say you prefer creating new worlds and new characters, right? So I'm curious in that. I said that shit again, son of a bitch. I guess I'm just a curious creature. Whatever. I'm gonna catch myself like 20 times in that, and it's gonna annoy the hell out of me today. It's only because I've been editing a lot of interviews and being like, huh, right? Um, do you prefer in that regard to just be able to do that, or is there part like getting ready or being able to work in these universes that you are, especially Marvel with the X-23 that you're doing, and then Hollow's Eve, which I want to know how much you can even discuss that character in all sincerity.
Well, they made the announcement that Hallow's Eve is Janine Godby. So that announced that I can say. And
Okay.
if you don't know who Janine Godby is, I want to say it was 1995 or 1996. G.M. DeMatteis and John Romita Jr. When they did their work on the Clone Saga, Janine was a young woman who met Ben Reilly, and this was during the time where there was like Kane, Ben Reilly, and Peter Parker, but they talked about how Ben Reilly was actually the real one,
Yeah.
and Peter Parker was a clone, and then they retconned that, and it was like a whole big thing. So I
Yeah,
want to say that was like 94, 95.
That whole Clone Saga has got a history behind it that I think a lot.
Yeah.
I think a lot of times they're like, we
This
want
shit
to touch
never
on it, but a
retconned it,
lot
in
of
my
times they're
opinion.
like, just don't acknowledge the original one. Just know what we're doing here later. But like that shit that happened way back in the day where we said it, that never actually happened. Like, but then there's part of me that's like, I don't know. I
It
think
was
it was
all
a very
just a
intriguing
dream.
story. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much. They're
Yeah.
like, no.
But that's where Janine was actually introduced. She was working as a waitress, not in a cocktail bar, but at a diner. And she met Ben, and they felt an attraction to each other because they were both running away from something. Janine was actually on the run. She had an abusive father, and she killed him in self-defense. And so she was on the run from that. And Ben was on the run from, the whole Peter Parker New York thing. And so they got together and they felt as if they understood each other. So this story that we're doing actually comes out of this big crossover called The Dark Web. So Janine as Hollow's Eve was just introduced in, I want to say, ASM 14.
Yes.
I think it was.
I know it was the Amazing Spider-Man. I'm pretty sure you're right on the issue number because I seen it earlier.
Yeah, I could be wrong on the issue number, but
I'm pretty
it
sure.
was definitely in ASM, and so she was introduced in that as Hollow's Eve. She got her powers from Madeline Pryor from the Goblin Queen, and now Ben is Chasm, and yeah, so I can't say much about the crossover event. But I can say that the story, the 5 issues that we do with Janine, is a very, very tight timeline. It takes place over about 3 or 4 days. So a lot of stuff happens in a very, very short period of time. But I can say that it's a little more sort of out there. We've got like demon werewolfy kind of stuff happening. And so yeah, that I can say. I hope.
You bring up a very I hope nobody look, if they tell you can't and you find out before this episode drops, let me know. I'll beep it out. I ain't trying to get nobody in trouble.
To be frank, I honestly don't know what I can or can't say. So I tend to err on the side of like not saying that much, but at the same time, then it's like, oh no, but because I didn't know that we could say that it was Janine. I didn't know what date I could start talking about Janine. And then a friend of mine emailed me an article, a Screen Rant article, saying, oh, hey, they just said it was Janine. And I'm like, oh, so I guess I can say that now. Like, I didn't know when, nobody was giving me like a calendar of when I could talk about things. But yes, now I can say it's Janine Godbray. Yeah.
Can I say, you bring up a very interesting point within that, though, is because a lot of people complain about the fact that, man, why are all these comic book characters so much older than they are, right? Well, you say you do a 5-issue arc and it takes place over a couple of days, so you think, 12 issues in a month, so you're not like aging a year in 12 issues, you know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing, is like every arc takes place over its own sort of
Yeah,
time frame.
that's
I
just
like
a funny
very,
concept.
very tight timelines because it it allows you to really think about how much can happen in 24 hours. So I have a story called 12 Devils Dancing, and there's a lot of flashbacks to this one particular character's backstory, but the core story between these three characters, you have Callum, you have Aisha, and you have this serial killer that they're after. That core story of Callum and Aisha and the serial killer takes place over 7 days, not even like 6.5 days. And I like doing that. I like having these really tight timelines. The Deadliest Bouquet, the entire 5 issues takes place over 6 days. And I like having that just jamming packed stuff in, and nobody's sleeping, because and that sort of also allows people to sort of become unreliable narrators because they get a little paranoid because they haven't slept for 3 days, kind of thing. And so it's sort of it allows the story a little leeway. It allows the story to sort of like, you know move and wave in a sort of funky direction, and then people are like, oh, I don't get it. Oh, wait, but yeah, this person's been awake for like 4 days, and they're dealing with the death of their parent, and like, yeah, obviously that's going to mess you up in the head. So the story with Janine takes place over about 3.5, 4 days, and it's a 5 issue. So
Can I say, as far as what messes me up in the head a little bit, just I
That
want to know
Chasm's
more. Huh?
that Ben Riley's a fucking villain now.
Well, no, that's
he's Chasm.
awesome.
He's in purple and green.
I love, man. I've seen the
Those are the
costume
villain
they put him
colors.
in as Chasm. I think it looks dope. I honestly look forward to
It's
reading the
amazing,
Dark
but
Web.
I don't want to be a
But
villain.
yeah, no, I want to read the Dark Web. I think it looks very, very intriguing as far as just a concept storyline. From what I've seen about it.
Well,
Yeah.
it's the two big clones. You've got Madeline
Yeah,
Pryor and you've got Ben Riley. So the two big clones of the Marvel, comics universe. I can't say MCU because it's cinematic universe, but the two big clones are. I would say the third big clone would be X-23, but that's just my own personal
No,
opinion.
the X-23 is the clone.
The
There's other clones and whatnot, but like, see, I read X-23 in Avengers Arena and Avengers Underground. You know what I'm saying? Like X-23 is dangerously awesome.
I will say that, but no, I mean, Hardaway. I think yeah. I would have to agree with you, Erica. She's probably honestly number 3 as far as in the clone
Well, I
aspect.
mean, just in terms of like when she was introduced, she's
Well, and not
she's the
even that,
third
but
one because Madeline
Yeah,
came first, and then
yeah.
Ben, or Madeline and Ben might have been close to the same time. I'm trying to think. Madeline
Eh,
came around, what was it, 85,
oh, you apparently got a way
84
better
maybe?
memory for that than I do, Erica. I'll tell you that
yeah,
right now.
years that no, I'm
I
not
read
that.
it. I can't remember what issue or whatever it was. I know I read it and consumed the medium. I don't remember like what issue at what time. I can't even tell you what episode we're on in the questionnaire.
Um,
And I run this
I don't know
show.
exactly when Madeline came around, but I believe she might have predated Ben,
Yeah. But no. I mean,
but I'm not entirely sure.
as far as importance, as far as within comic books, um, clones within the Marvel U. I just said the Marvel U. That way you know what I'm talking about. Because if you say MCU, people think, yeah, it's the movies. Yeah, you're
Yeah.
right. Right? You can't even say 616 now because they designated
1983
the Marvel Universe. And
1983 was Madeline.
was
When was
Madeline
Ben?
Uncanny X-Men 168 1983.
Okay, so
Uh,
when was Ben?
And when was Ben Hardaway? Find that out. So,
I'm about to find that out while y'all ask that question and whatnot. See,
um,
I'm on it.
I would just have to say in the series of importance, I would say especially now, honestly, X-23 is probably one of the more important characters. The only reason you would rate Madeline Pryor as more is because without her, you don't have cable.
Oh
And
shit. 1975. Ben
Ben
Riley was
Riley?
Riley,
before.
75? Oh,
Ben Riley.
wow. Wow. I didn't think he was that. I mean, I thought maybe if he was before, it'd be like 80, 81. I didn't know
Yeah,
75.
what?
So he came out in 75 and then he returned in 1994. But his first issue was The Amazing Spider-Man number 149, October 1975.
So he's way older than I thought.
Well, okay.
Way older.
Wow.
Yeah.
I definitely think X-23 has to be very high up on the list. I mean, just important clones within comic books, period, though, if you really think about it.
Now you got me looking it up.
There aren't that many characters within comic books that are clones that have had the effect that those three specific characters have. Because, like I said, without Madeline Pryor,
Well,
you
aren't
don't
the
have
Cuckoos clones of Emma Frost?
But I don't think they were ever something that was the level of character. You know what I mean?
True.
That those three were.
Although Phoenix War Song, it turned around and dealt with, because there were originally, I think, 5 Cuckoos, and then there were 3 left. And I remember after Phoenix End Song, which Greg Pak wrote, then there were, I think it was Greg Pak and Greg Land. And then they did Phoenix War Song, where the Phoenix Force came and inhabited the 3 Cuckoos. And it was a whole thing with like Quentin Quire and everything.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. But the Cuckoos weren't clones, were they?
I thought that the Cuckoos were clones of Emma Frost.
I
could be totally wrong though.
Well, to find out.
Hardaway's gonna Google that information. I honestly thought every time I read anything about them, and I honestly haven't done that much, like I haven't stopped and done research on the Cuckoos. I've read a lot of things with the Cuckoos in them.
Freaking horrifying.
But I don't think they were. I mean, I could be wrong just based on their appearance. I thought they were just a huge ass pack of twins or whatever you would.
5 Emma Frost, yo. 5 Emma Frost.
Oh well, all right.
There's Esme. Esme is one of them.
So but even then, including the Cuckoos, I would still put them fourth. You know what I mean? As far as I would still put them fourth in the grand scheme of things. And in all honesty, to a certain degree, I put X-23 first because who else has been in a movie?
True. Well, Emma Frost was in a movie,
but not her clones, Erica.
True.
Just her. The only clone that's been in a film is Lauren, and that's it. Yeah, that's it. There has not been another person that's been in a film that was a clone except X-23. She's the only.
Daphne Keane, I think, is the actress who played.
Yeah, and she did phenomenal. I want to point out, especially I hope they bring her into the MCU as X-23, especially with what they're doing.
I mean, she's about the right age. She's I mean, now she's probably like 16, 17 years old. So she's the perfect age.
That's what I'm saying. She's that perfect age to sign her to a 4-movie contract. Look, Logan's coming back for 1 film. And then you are Wolverine, all right? At least for a little while, all right? Like, we got Hugh Jackman coming back 1 time for the
for Deadpool 3.
Yeah, right. And then you're just and then they should bring her in my opinion. I think it'd be a great idea. And then you just let her get her a 6-movie contract, right? She did as a child, man, because I don't know how young she was, but she wasn't that old at all when she played that role. She did phenomenally. I would expect now she would do far, far better, you know?
I wonder, though, I mean, they've been talking about Young Avengers, so I wonder if it's something where they'll bring her in for the Young Avengers, and if instead of it being a film, it's maybe like a 6-episode Disney Plus show, kind of like, the Falcon Winter Soldier, that kind of thing. I'm wondering if that would do.
And can I say, firstly, I note just in the conversation, Erica, you are a fan of comic books.
I am.
And you have been for a long,
Why? Because I'm like
what?
spouting out like
Just
titles
because of
and
the
years and shit.
information you're having. You ever? I mean, you could talk to somebody. You can be like, "Oh, well, that dude watches the movies," or "Oh no, this person reads comic books," right? So I'm just
I
curious.
had an older brother, and that's I would sneak into his room and steal whatever he had.
Fair enough.
That's
So,
phenomenal.
real quick before you ask this question, I just found out who the oldest clone is.
Who's the oldest clone?
Bizarro. He was created from a duplicating ray.
But I thought that was
Okay.
Bizarro Planet. I thought there was a whole.
Look, I thought there was a whole Bizarro world.
Yeah,
right.
so did I. I thought it was like opposite worlds, like the
Yeah,
mirror world.
Me too. Apparently, that's from the cartoon, and that became the whole thing after that. Because
But originally,
the original Bizarro wasn't created in the lab. That's what makes him different than all the other clones. He was created by Superman getting shot by a duplicating ray, and it was an imperfect copy of Superman.
Huh.
Interesting.
That's very intriguing. That's so. What was my question, Hardaway? You son of a.
And that was in 1956.
So he is the oldest clone by 20 years. Yeah, because Ben Reilly was 75. Yeah.
All right. Yep. All right. I got my question back, Hardaway. You about threw me off so hard with that because I was like, Bizarro's a clone? We were literally just talking to Mark. No, dude, we were talking to Mark about that. And he said he wanted to do a whole thing about Bizarro. Like, he wanted to do a TV show with Bizarro, Superman, and a whole Bizarro planet. Don't you remember this? Like, I might just because I just said it. But that's besides the point.
I like the idea of a Bizarro planet.
I do. Look. We ain't getting into all that right now, Hardaway. Go check out Mark's interview if you guys want to see it. It's already up, right? I promise you it's out there. Just check it out, regardless of Spotify, YouTube, wherever the hell you're at. But I'm curious, Eric, you being such a comic book fan for so long, you obviously seen. I mean, when you seen Blade come out, did that excite you a little?
The Wesley Snipes Blade?
Yeah.
Yeah. I really enjoy. Okay, so I know people talk so much shit about Blade Trinity. I actually really liked Blade Trinity.
Me too.
That's a little much.
That's OG right there, man. Look, I got this at a Wizard World Comic Con a long time ago, and I've just always kept it, right? And it's the same one I got a picture of Stan Lee at. Don't hate me for fucking keeping this, Erica.
I don't hate you for it.
I got a lot of bull. I ain't got near as much. All right. But
rappers, you got to make a chain out of that.
All right. That would be kind of funny, actually.
He's gonna be like Flavor Flav with the giant claws, but he's gonna have the giant.
Just I got a giant foam blade. Look, I would only do that. I always
have to say, like, I kind of feel bad for Flavor Flav when it comes to like daylight savings time, because you think he goes and he switches the time on every single freaking clock? Because there are so many of them, because they're all different color coded to his outfits. So I have to wonder, like, does he really just say, screw it, for 6 months out of the year, I'm not going to care? Or does he sit there and have his assistant put the clock back or put the clock forward?
See, that's what you got right there.
That's a genuine question. If I ever met him,
I guarantee if it's his assistant. He's got some dude that does that. He don't do that shit, Erica. He's got some dude.
I know, but like, but aren't there more important things?
Time is a concept that only exists because we as humans have agreed upon it. Now, back to my question.
But we're not going to get into that.
We ain't going to get into that. But back to my question, as far as what I was saying, is it crazy for you then, as someone that read comics, and I mean, I'm assuming you read them more at a time where they weren't looked upon as friendly as they are now? Is it insane to look and be like, the MCU exists? Black Adam just came out. People are liking it. Like, the level that has changed.
Well, Captain America came out in 1989. That crappy Captain America movie came out in 1989.
But that did not.
You had X-Men. You had the X-Men TV show, the cartoon, come out in 92.
Yeah.
You had Defenders of the Earth come out in, what was that, 88? I was a huge fan of Transformers. So to me, it was all. I mean, it was all kind of. I mean, yes, Transformers are not superheroes, but they follow a very similar archetype as superheroes. I mean, if you don't think that Optimus Prime is like a Captain America figure, then you're obviously not looking. And I'm talking about the cartoon. I'm not talking about the Bay films. But if you don't watch the '84 cartoon and think, wow, he is the Captain America figure. He is the paragon of good, truth, justice, the American way. I mean, Superman came out in 78, 77.
We're talking. Oh, okay, yes, the movies. Yeah, roughly.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
so for me to turn around and be like, oh my God, the MCU. Yeah, it's huge. It's wonderful. It's fabulous. It's all encompassing. It's this giant web of stuff. But I mean, I was born in 77, so I've never not had some type of superhero.
All right, let me rephrase.
In my mind, at least, superhero.
Let me switch it a little bit then. All right.
Okay.
Right, because
I know that's
I
not
do
the
get what
answer
you're
that you
saying.
wanted.
I do get what you're saying in that regard, but I didn't
78,
take that
yeah,
question
78.
to the depth that I should have.
Superman, yeah.
Right.
See, Christopher Reeve is my Superman. I mean, Superman 78 will always be a film that I can watch over and over again. And just for me, that's just like a special kind of thing. But I mean, I look at, there's so many characters that, I look at Indiana Jones as a superhero adventure story. I look at Star Wars as a superhero adventure story. So for me, I mean, you have wizards with laser swords. I mean, through Star Wars kind of thing. So space wizards with laser swords.
Good.
So let me rephrase that question a little bit, though. Just the fact that it's become to where there is so much from comic books specifically that are getting transitioned into film and TVs, where in the past that wasn't as common. You know what I mean? And I say this especially because, like, the conversation we recently had with Mark Verheiden, he said, back in the day when you went into a producer's office and you said your background was in the comics, they'd laugh you out of the fucking building, right? Like, literally, this is what Mark told us.
And now they're coming for people.
And exactly. Now when you go into the building, they're like, oh, you do comics? Really? Come here.
But that's where the piss and vinegar comes in. because no, I'm being serious, because all the people that thought that you were the weirdo for reading comics, or thought that you were different, or thought, and this is for anybody. If you were the queer kid, if you were, the one kid who wasn't, the white kid, in a mostly white school, if you were any way different and you read comics and things like that, this is your validation, for lack of a better term. But that's where the piss and vinegar comes from, is being the different kid, being a little weird, being the oddball, that kind of thing. And for all the people that said that I couldn't.
Did you hear her just explain why I'm so goddamn mean, Hardaway?
Look, for one,
fuck off, dude. I don't even want to hear it, right? What I want to know, right? No, shut up. Shut up, Hardaway. You told me to shut up earlier. You shut up.
Let Hardaway speak.
Hey, shut up, Hardaway. Right?
Thank you, man.
Right, no, hold on. What I want to know is why, like, you're at least the third person I've had answer Watchmen. Why do you think that didn't live up to the comic? And I know the author obviously thinks it didn't live up to the comic because he didn't even want his name on it. But I've read both the comic and I've watched the movie. I understand they changed the ending, but there were, I don't know, man. Like, out of every comic book film I've seen, I definitely don't think that's the one that lived up to the comic the least.
Okay. Well, I will say this. I think that Alan Moore is a tour de force. I think that there are things that Alan Moore has written that are just out of this world. I am not a huge fan of the Watchmen comic in general. I didn't see the film. I didn't watch the I think it's Zack Snyder who did it.
I believe that's correct.
Yeah, I didn't see the Watchmen film. I read the Watchmen comic. I didn't read the newer stuff, the stuff with Doomsday Clock and things like that. I never read that. I read the original, David Lloyd. Not David Lloyd. Alan Moore. It's not David Lloyd, because David Lloyd he did V for Vendetta with, I believe. God, why am I totally blanking?
No, hold on. Actually, I'm pretty sure those are both Alan Moore.
Yeah, Alan Moore did V for Vendetta, but who was the artist on Watchmen?
We're about to find out.
David Lloyd was the art. I'm embarrassed now to say this. Now people are gonna watch this and be like, she doesn't read comics.
No. Because here's the thing. Most people who read comics and whatnot, still, like, I read a bunch of comics. I have over 400 sitting right here next to me. I could not tell you the writer, the inker, the artist from most of them. I couldn't tell you most of them. I can tell you everything about the characters. I can tell you everything about the story. I can even like give you verbatim page lines. You know what I'm saying? But when it comes to be like, oh, well, who wrote this? Shit, I don't know. Who drew it? Shit, I don't know. We're going to have to look that one up real quick.
So I believe David Lloyd and Alan Moore worked together on V for Vendetta. The artist on Watchmen might be Dave Gibbons.
Dave Gibbons.
John Higgins was a colorist.
You are correct, Erica. It is Dave Gibbons.
Dave Gibbons. Dave. Okay. All right. My apologies to Dave Gibbons.
Firstly, yeah, shout out to Dave Gibbons. I mean, that the art in that is awesome. And secondly, if anyone wants to tell somebody that they're not a comic book fan because they don't know the author or who's doing the art, I think you're kind of a dick. All right? I think you're like flat out, bro. If you're going to look at somebody and be like, you're not a comic book fan, you don't know who did that art. You're a dick, bro. I'm just saying.
There's a lot of dicks out there.
I mean, that's
I will say though, I mean, I understand Watchmen. I understand Watchmen's place in history. I do. And I understand why it was important when it came out. In terms of the story, I'm not a huge fan of the story in general. But I understand it. I respect it. It's the same thing with Citizen Kane. My husband, you know, went to film school. He's a film and television editor. Citizen Kane for him is the pinnacle of all film. And a lot of people will say that. Now, I understand the importance of Citizen Kane. I understand the movement that Citizen Kane helped bring forward. And I understand Orson Welles' influence on film, and not just storytelling, but also technical filmmaking, lighting, different types of camera work and things like that. I get that and I respect that. I'm just not a fan of the work that was particularly output. So the Watchmen, I enjoyed V for Vendetta. I enjoyed Killing Joke. I enjoyed a lot of Alan Moore's work. Watchmen is something that I just wasn't a huge fan of in terms of the story, but I absolutely respect it and its place in history.
But
now, Jay, you covered your mouth when I said Citizen Kane. I don't know. Are you like a fan of Citizen Kane? Is that what it is?
No, actually, that's not the reason. Hold on.
As far as Citizen Kane, it's a film. I consider myself someone that's a fan of film as far as as well as comics. I didn't see you cover your mouth though, Hardaway, but that's a film I could never watch all the way through. I don't know. It was too damn slow. But I agree with you. I get its place cinematically in history. So that's fine. Yeah.
Y'all ever heard of All-Negro Comics?
From when?
From 1940, and it was re-released in 2013. That's why I covered my mouth, is because I went and looked up Watchmen to see when that, like, who was the writer and artist, who was the artist. And one of the things from Amazon popped up, and it was like All-Negro Comics.
Well,
was it comic strips or was it comic? Was it like the newspaper strips?
No, it's the first issue of All-Negro Comics, jam-packed with fast action, African adventure, good, clean humor, and fantasy. It's from the Golden Age. It was from the 1940s. And it was
Now,
really
is it all Negro comics that the characters, or is it all Negro comics that the creators?
no, it's characters. Like this shit looks like it's like a couple strokes from being
Minstrel.
Yeah. It's like and see this is gonna piss me off because I can't
Well,
believe
that took a twist, didn't it?
Bojangles. It looks like they're like 3 strokes from Bojangles. But no, I just thought that was fucked up because that's why
shit.
Yeah, that's why I went. Because I'm sitting here looking up Watchmen, and right next to Watchmen was that on the selling list, and I was like, "Oh shit!"
No. The proper thing to say was shit sticks, man. Because what the hell?
See, I was thinking it was a collection of African American creators and artists and writers. Originally, when you said that, I was like, "Oh, that's really cool!" Like they put something together. Like they put together a collection, like almost like a coffee table book, a collection of all these African American artists and writers from the 1940s. But if it's just these characters that a bunch of white dudes were drawing, then yeah, no.
Yeah, the author's Carrie A. Therian. Yeah, it's
man, you threw me all off with that, Hardaway. I don't even know where we are in this interview anymore. Like what like kind of random.
We find random shit. We've been talking about random shit this whole entire time.
I mean, that's true, now, bro. But like, you got to get racist all of a sudden.
How do you feel? How do you like? This is the thing. All right.
That is fucked up.
I'm just putting some lotion on my hands.
Okay, well, it looked like you're getting ready. You're like, yeah, let's do this.
Oh, because I'd be taking my earrings out, Vaseline on the face.
She's about to fuck you up,
rings already came off.
No, like you're getting ready for the question. You're like, yeah, let's get ready. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking about you scrap somebody. No, what the 3 sisters in
Deadliest Bouquet.
Deadliest Bouquet. I was remembering. I couldn't remember the first
really,
word.
man. I said it off air. You're gonna call me out live on air, Erica? That's just rude as shit. Like,
hey, I don't
whatever.
enough for the man.
Look, it's not rude. It is. I am simply recalling a situation that occurred.
Look. He can't really say nothing because not only does he mess up titles of comics sometimes, most times he doesn't, but he does forget the host name.
I don't forget the host name, Dingleberry. You and I are the host.
He forgets my name sometimes. Calls me Dingleberry and shit like that. He forgets my name's Hardaway.
That's just because I'm a dick, Hardaway. That's got nothing to do with forgetting your name.
No, but the 3 main characters in Deadliest Bouquet,
yes.
When they're having a banquet, what is their candy bar of choice? Like their favorite candy, if they like candy.
Their favorite candy. I would think that Violent Violet would probably like something like a lollipop with like a chili pepper in it, just so she could be like, look how badass I am. I would think Poppy, who's the middle child, Punchy Poppy, would probably be kind of vanilla and go with like a Kit Kat, but she would eat it like a Kardashian, like peeling it and everything. And I think Rose would probably go with something like a Toblerone, because even though it's just like plain chocolate and everything, it makes her feel like she's a little exotic because it's, not from around here.
Now wait, why is eating a Kit Kat and peeling it Kardashian? I need to know.